My name is Lloyd Kuveya. I'm the Deputy Director at the Center for Human Rights, which is located within the Faculty of Law at the University of Pretoria. In Africa, generally speaking, we have a very progressive human rights instruments. You look at our bills of rights, most of them do contain civil and political rights, economic, social, and cultural rights, and your third generation rights. The challenge we have is the issue of implementation. On the issue of economic, social, and cultural rights, some of our leaders have argued that because of underdevelopment, they are unable to ensure that people have access to housing, access to water, issues of providing quality education, quality healthcare services. Some of the issues that one can perhaps say have affected the realization of these economic, social, and cultural rights is issues like the debt burden, illicit financial flows, embezzlement of funds. That needs to be addressed by our states to ensure that people enjoy these economic, social, and cultural rights. Development is not really happening as we would want to see. I mean, you just have to look at Southern Africa, for instance, which, in terms of inequality, has got the highest levels of inequality in the whole world, and it's partly because of the imbalance in trade relations with the global north. So multinational corporations are benefiting, and yet our people are not benefiting. Now, touching on the indigenous people who have been affected by development projects, it's an area of concern as well on the continent. First of all, a lot of our leaders are not accepting the concept of indigenous people, saying that all Africans are indigenous and that therefore they should not be accorded any special treatment. So when you look at what has happened, for instance, with the Ogiek community in Kenya, and you look at what has happened with the Maasai from Loliondo in Tanzania, they have struggled in terms of maintaining their ability to live off their ancestral lands because of development projects, either by the state itself or by big business, or partnership between the state and big business. We can talk about so many of them. The Batwa in Central Africa, we have lived off the forest, but then the governments and big business come in and say we are going to displace them so that we are better able to conserve forestry and so on and so forth. That might be all good, but I think the governments need to look at the treatment of indigenous people from a human rights-based approach, where you do not displace them without prior informed consent, without ensuring that there's alternative places for them to stay and maintain their lifestyles, without much disturbance. So you can go around the continent and you'll see that they have become so vulnerable. The other issue that Africa is grappling with is the issue of migration and refugees, fueled by a number of issues, including climate change. Then there are these conflicts that are happening on the continent. So Africa has to come up with a strategy to see how this problem can be solved. One of the interesting developments is the adoption of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. If it speeds up development across the continent, then we might be able to solve the problem of migration and the refugees. It is important still for ordinary people to understand that they have those rights and that the states have obligations to ensure their realization, the protection, fulfillment, and also us as academic institutions, civil society, and development partners, we must then promote them and raise awareness about them with ordinary people as well as the policymakers. One of the things that we have done with Konrad Adenauer Stiftung is to go into a partnership to say, look, why don't we make our constitutions living documents, empower ordinary people so that they themselves know about the rights that are in the Bills of Rights, in the constitutions, and then demand them from our leaders. Already we have done this in 5 countries, including Zimbabwe, Ghana, Malawi, Zambia, and we have translated these constitutional literacy booklets into local languages that are understood by ordinary people so that they are empowered to demand their rights. One last thing is the issue of judicial independence, because I also see the judiciary as the last bastion for human rights protection. When rights have been violated, people can go there, and so if judicial independence and judicial integrity, dealing with corruption, within the judiciary, but also even within society in general, will help us to go a long way in terms of protection of human rights, respect for the rule of law, on the continent.